Well, g'day everyone. This is our first Victorious TV channel, and we are proud to have Charlie Monahan from Wargames Atlantic here with us to tell us a little bit about, Wargames Atlantic and getting behind us. So, Charlie, thank you very much for sponsoring Victorious. We're very excited to
Pleasure.
have you on board, and this is a great opportunity to find a little bit more about what you do.
Yeah, I'd love to be coming out. I need an excuse to visit Australia. Never been. And yeah, I mean, okay. So Wargames Atlantic, where we are right now is in this kind of really weird transition period. The company's 6 years old this year. Uh, Focusing to begin with on just producing really good multi-part hard plastic kits, sets, models. Um, and obviously the obvious place to start at the beginning was kind of filling gaps in ranges that already existed. Um, and trying to produce something that was a little bit more whether it was innovative, uh, ultimately better. Which just sounds a bit grandiose to say that, but that's the plan. You're trying to make a good product that people are going to love and enjoy, tell their friends about, put on the gaming table, post pictures online of what they've painted and made, etc. So it started with a couple of sets, one fantasy and one sci-fi. First fantasy set was skeletons, and very nice skeletons, I will say so. And the Raumjäger for our Deathfields setting, which um, has very recently gained its own rule set. And obviously, over the last 6 years, we kind of expanded on that sci-fi setting, creating more Deathfield sets, largely human in the most part, with some aliens kind of thrown in here and there. Um, we do historical stuff, World War One, World War Two, uh, all the way down to Romans, Dark Age Irish, um, and then we last year started to support the Barons War period with Andy Hobday. And Andy's recently joined us in January to come on board in a kind of creative director role, writing rules, helping with product development and stuff like that. Um, and that's kind of like I say, we're in this kind of transition period at the moment where we're going from just making miniatures to actually making tabletop games. Um, we started that last year with a few partners. So with Josh Qualtieri of Zombie Smith Games, who does the Qua, which are these really whimsical, funky kind of alien anteater dudes stuck in like a World War One technological period. And they just like to kill each other a lot, which makes for a really good war game. And then we did the last war with Will Roman Daltrey, and that is like a post World War One, kind of post apocalyptic post World War One setting, very kind of grim dark, really cool setting. And then the third one was the Barons War two-star set, which came out in March, April this year. Yeah, I want to say it
Yeah,
was March.
it's
Everything
been
just
very
goes
hard to
by
get
so
hold of.
fast. Yeah, which as of right now, it will be going back on stock in about in back on sale in about 4 hours. But by the time this goes out, whenever that is, it should be back on sale and hopefully hasn't sold out again. Because it's a big old box. I don't know if you've seen the starter set, but there's a lot of stuff in there, so it takes a long time to make it up. There's a lot of stuff needs to go into it. So even to just make sort of 1,000 units takes quite a lot of time to do. But there is some stock heading out to Australia, courtesy of Gap Games. Brett placed a big order yesterday for a lot of Barons Wars 2 starter sets. So there should be some stock out there very soon. Tends to take us about a week to get stuff out to Australia. Um, and yeah, so beyond the Barons War, we're currently have an open kind of live beta of Deathfield's Arena. So the Deathfield setting is like a far future sport of two teams going into an arena and killing each other. So not a sport, and they're not carrying around a football or doing anything like that. It's like I would always say it's like laser tag in space, but then it's kind of just laser tag, right? Because they're shooting laser guns. But instead of the little chest plate vibrating when you get shot, you just bleed and die. So it's a arena combat game. It's like one man is one unit, skirmish game. You build your team, you kind of equip them with whatever you want. You have a few slots so you give yourself a gun, some upgrades, some equipment. You dive into the arena, and there's different scenarios, such as there's obviously just a kill your other team, the other team scenario, but also scenarios for like grabbing objectives and bringing them back to your deployment zone and stuff like that. No, but that's a live beta. So the idea is the rules are available free to download. You can use whatever models you like to play test it. Give us as much feedback as you can. And as the game develops, as people are play testing, the game will develop, and eventually we'll put it into a full rule set and a starter set, probably end of this year, very beginning of next year. And
And
then the
so if
other game we're
people want
working
to,
on is go
and
on,
if
go on.
people want to find it to give it a go, it's on the website.
It's on the website under the Deathfields section, and there's also a Facebook group, which is the Deathfields Arena. I think it's just official Facebook group, where people are sharing feedback and their models and their games and all that sort of stuff in there,
And if you
which is
like,
great. It's gone.
so what type of games would people normally be playing or currently be playing that would be drawn to this one that they should go and try it out?
It's an interesting one. So if you like sci-fi, you obviously you need to like sci-fi. It's a sci-fi setting. But a lot of the teams at the moment are kind of based on historical soldiers from different time periods. For example, the Les Grognards are based on French Old Guard from the Napoleonic period. The Raumjäger are based on German Volkskriegsjäger. And then we've got some space dwarves. We've got some space halflings, um, and some space Brits, some space Americans. So like the URA are like based on US Marines, so a little bit kind of modern, a bit more modern in their aesthetic. And then there's the kind of dregs of the universe, which is your cannon fodder, which can represent anything from kind of like penal troops to kind of planetary defense forces or even a fan-made team.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so you've got obviously got to have an interest in sci-fi, but it very much is. It's a sport, so you know it's a game you're playing to win. The narrative is you know you've got your team and they're growing. So you know if you've got an interest in things like Blood Bowl, it fits. Kill Team, it fits. Um, and then if you'd like your skirmish games, it's very much a true scale skirmish game of one man is one unit. It does have a really interesting, really unique mechanic where we call it combat effectiveness. So every troop has a combat effectiveness of 1 to 10. Um, you kind of randomly determine their starting combat effectiveness by rolling a load of d10s. You then assign that off to each model. Tend to look at around like 8 to 10 models per side. And as they're kind of going through the game and they're taking wounds or scoring hits or picking up victory points, their combat effectiveness is kind of going up and down. And as it goes up and down, they get better and faster and harder to kill, or they get slower, worse, and easier to kill. And it's really swingy. It goes backwards and forwards throughout the game, and makes for quite a really kind of dynamic. really characterful gameplay. Like every man really means something to you because you're kind of watching them,
Mhm.
like their confidence go up or their confidence go down, and obviously other team members can support them. You might have a medic in there that can come in and heal guys. Your captain can kind of issue orders out to other members of the team. You can have specialists that are carrying heavy weapons, or maybe they're in a support role, so they've got binoculars and they can kind of like if someone's close to them, they can help spot and things like that. So it's a really, really good game. I love it. Obviously, I'm going to be biased because it's going to be our first homegrown war game. But yeah, it's really good fun. And we'd love
Yep.
people to go and play test it and give us their feedback.
So get on the website, Death Fields, look it up there, download it, have a go, or join the Facebook group. And if you've got any comments, make sure that Charlie and team get to hear them and take them on board.
Yeah,
Oh, it's good.
which would be awesome. So the other game we're working on is a complete polar opposite, the opposite end of the scale completely. So that's in 28 mil. We're working on a 10 mil fantasy kind of mass battle rank and file, rank and flank, whatever terminology you use. Um, War games, so intended to be played on 4x4 or 6x4, or as big as you like. Um, it is it is exactly what it says on the tin. It's a rank and file 10 mil fantasy game. So there's dwarves, there's orcs, skeletons, elves, humans of different flavors will be in it. There'll be giants, there'll be dragons, other types of monsters and beasts as time goes on. And it's a mass battle. It's designed to get loads of models on the table, and because it's in 10 mil, it really does look like mass battle because you've got big blocks of little dwarves and little orcs all ready to smash each other over the head and fight for their faction.
So
Um, One of the things I
if you
really
come along
do
to
like
the
about it
show,
is we
so I was
go
just
on.
saying, for
Sorry, Lon.
people who come along to the show, we've got a box of an orc regiment that has got all those figures from that range, so you can come down and check it
Yeah.
out and see what they're like, and one lucky person will probably get to take it away.
Excellent, excellent. And the dwarves will be following up really soon, hopefully in the next couple of weeks. And then the skeletons will be out. So again, the idea is we're putting some product into the market so people can get their hands on it, get a feel for it, hopefully get excited about the game coming. And then probably in about 6 to 8 weeks, we should have a beta version of the rules for people to play. With Classic Fantasy Battles, it will be like a quick start version of the rules. It won't get into all of the magic and stuff that's going to come in the full game because you need little hero models for that, and they'll be in a separate kind of product for themselves, as well as obviously a big starter set full of models. Um, but one of the really cool things we've done is we've just gone for two factions. You've got like good and you've got evil. But within those good and evil factions, you've got multiple races. So you've got your orcs, you've got goblins, you've got skeletons. On the good side, you'll have dwarves, elves, halflings, and then humans. And then there's going to be some kind of cross faction mercenaries, I guess. So giants will be both good and evil. Ogres will be good and evil. We've taken our Landsknecht ogres, which is one of our most popular fantasy sets, and we've made them 10 mil, and they look awesome. So you'll be able to get those guys, and because they're mercenaries in their lore, they can fight for both sides. And because it's classic fantasy, it's the opportunities are endless. We do lizard men in 10 mil at the moment, so sorry, in 28 mil at the moment, so we'll probably do those in 10 mil. Um, but because of the two factions, you can mix and match. So you could have, predominantly an orc army, but it can be supported by some skeletons and some goblins and a giant or two. Or if you wanted to, you could just go all skeletons, and you'll be able to have a full skeleton army. And same on the obviously the good side, you can have some dwarves and some elves and some humans all together, or you can just kind of focus in on one race. So as we go into next year, there'll be more plastics released. We'll release a starter set and then continue to release stuff every month for that and just keep growing that range out. So we're kind of sitting in this limbo period at the moment where we're still producing loads of kits, but we have our sights set on producing these two games, um, and then really kind of getting into supporting those two games going into next year. And then for the historical fans, we picked up the license for Sharp, the TV series and the books. Actually, the license encompasses the books as well, which is awesome because Sharp's Tiger is still my favorite. Um, so the first model is on pre-order at the moment, and we're doing like a what we're calling, I think what we've nailed down as the Legends series, where you'll get both like a real big 54 mil version of a character and then a 28 mil version of the character. So obviously the 28 mil one is for you to take off and play
Yeah.
in whatever war game you want to play it in, and then the 54 mil one is there for display purposes and stuff. So we've done Sharp. Nobody knows this, so this is an exclusive.
Okay.
We're doing Harper next. I
Yeah.
mean, if you could have guessed, that's the one you'd guess. And then I think we're going to do Rifleman Harris, and there's a couple more planned
But you'll
beyond.
need to have an evil one, so you'll have to have Obadiah Hackwell.
Gotta have Obadiah,
Yeah.
hands down.
Yeah.
And then probably I forget the French kind of spy guy. What's he? Is it Ducourt or Ducamp? I can't remember his name now off the top of my
Yeah.
head. Anyway, yes. But the plan then is to do a skirmish game for Sharp, which will be a lot more narrative driven. You'll be able to take, a couple of heroes like Sharp and Harper, and then you'll make up the rest of your force with small units of whether it's riflemen or just the Essex or whatever. So maybe a few cavalry, etc. And very much kind of like probably around the 30 to 40 models size, sort of.
Mhm.
Uh, like loose formation, round base sort of skirmish game. So that'll be probably kind of mid to late next year. We should get that out. But in the meantime, we'll be producing a load of figures for people to kind of sate their sharp appetite, as it were.
And given that Sharp's Tiger is your favorite, does that mean that you're going to have a supplement for India and going after the Tipu rubies, etc.?
Yeah, 100%. The obvious place to start is obviously Sharp's Rifles, because that's where the show started. It's currently hotly being discussed whether we do a show and then go back and do the first book and then do another show and then go back and do the second book and kind of do it like that, or whether we just move through the shows and then go back to and then go back to the books and go through the books. So I'm really keen. I think everybody is, because it's a period, even in like historical gaming and Napoleonic gaming, that it's not really been covered.
Hmm.
Like India has not really been covered in any great shape or form. Obviously, there is some stuff out there, but not in a kind of mainstream way. So it would be really cool to do that and do the whole the siege of Seringapatam and I mean this, the flavor in the scenarios and the narrative you could do for that is fab. And I want a tiger, like we really it just has to be done. So yes is the answer.
So
Um,
many of the people who would be coming to Victorious wouldn't have a background in historical gaming, and so they'll be seeing some Napoleonic battles for the first time. Ones are using Lardy type rules. Um,
yeah.
but maybe the Sharp range is an opportunity for people to explore Napoleonics without having to invest so heavily into building regiments, etc., etc.
Yes, 100%. And that was part of the what was part of the brief in kind of coming up with the concept of the game. It will draw on some of the mechanics from Death Fields and Classic Fantasy Battles. using the kind of combat effectiveness morale mechanic, but in a lighter way. So the heroes will have it.
Hmm.
So Sharp will have a combat effectiveness, and if you're near Sharp, you'll be able to benefit from how he's doing, how he's getting on at the time, sort of thing. And obviously, there's going to be some flavorful choices in special rules for Sharp and Harper, etc. And yeah, the idea was it would produce we'd produce a game that is uh, more accessible
Hmm.
to the everyday gamer. I'm sure you're experiencing yourself. Life's busy, especially when you've got other commitments outside of wargaming, and trying to build and paint armies, big armies, is a huge commitment. Um, and I think the way we'll probably go, for large armies, will be down the 10 mil route. But for the 28 mil, it'll be more, the skirmish level to I guess maxing out it's 100 figures is probably like the absolute maximum size game I could see us doing with round bases. And 28 mil. But then saying that's the boss is working on movement trays for 28 mil at the moment. And he has a terrible habit of doing things and then being coming to me or coming to me and Andy and saying, right, make use of this. Like let's make like how can we make a game that fits this cool concept that I've come up with? But you've got to start somewhere. So yeah, so the idea is to, I guess, to coin a phrase, and some people will cringe when I say this, particularly the more staunch historical gamers out there. I would like Sharp to make Napoleonic gaming sexy. I want people to look at the table and be like, "That looks like a show from or an episode from the show," or if they're into the books, oh, it's just like it's just like this scene in Sharp's Tigers where they're storming the walls of Serengupidum and Sharp's in the background, weaving his way around, trying to do some mischief, and well, originally he was trying to stop the wall from blowing up, wasn't he? Yeah, it's all about making it more accessible to um I kind of maybe like a newer audience to a degree, like the people that are more used to round-based wargaming
Yep.
because of 40K and Age of Sigmar and associated game systems. It is still the biggest feeder into the industry by far. And it would be from a business perspective, and ultimately that's who I am first and foremost, is uh, a salesman, a business development guy, and it would be wrong not to try and make the products that we make relatable to the bigger audience. And um, we've most of us started playing some sort of Games Workshop game when we started the hobby. Um, so making games that feel similar but different is kind of where we want to go with it. Very much like Bolt Action was. It was a great alternative to 40K because it felt a bit like 40K, but wasn't. It was and I think what Bolt Action does really well is it's a cinematic representation of World War II, which is exactly what I hope Sharp will be. It'll be a cinematic representation of, Napoleonic gaming. We want to get the history right, but we want to get the history right in a Bernard Cornwell way, if that makes sense. And then Bernard's really good at it, in my opinion. I don't think there's not many Bernard Cornwell books I haven't either read or listened to. Um, and I think that's that for me is a really good way of translating it into a war game, you know, fit for a more modern audience.
Well, you're going to
Maybe
say
there's a bit of
the
Marmite
Vikings,
in that saying.
the HBO Vikings, leading to people showing more interest in Vikings and Saga,
Yeah,
etc., and the Last Kingdom.
yes,
So it's all about bringing new audience into the hobby, and
yeah.
it's refreshing for everyone. So you mentioned back at the start. So you're 6 years old. Can you give us a little bit of the history and yeah, maybe some of the
Yeah,
uniqueness about the business compared to others? Because you're
yeah,
not
hundred percent.
based, I suppose.
I mean, we come from very humble beginnings. Um, Only one of us. I used to be able to say none of us are from X Games Workshop, but one of us is now. Because Andy Hobday was of Games Workshop caliber. Um, but we come from very humble beginnings. Hudson um, had enough capital to get those first two sets off the ground. He has a manufacturing background, so he understands manufacturing processes, warehousing, all that kind of the logistical side of things. Um, and it was him and a sculptor at the very beginning. And as time grew, the one thing we're really good for is outsourcing. We're not yeah, you kind of have to when you don't have a lot of capital. You have to outsource. You can't, if you hire too many people, you stretch the business too far, you overextend, and that's where you find yourself in a sticky situation and unable to, you know, ultimately pay your bills and pay your staff. So we're a very lean team. We went from two guys to three, and then to four, and to five, and as time went on and the business grew, we were able to acquire some manufacturing in-house. Um, and then that manufacturing needed to be moved from China over to the US. And that happened, that'll have been, I joined 3 years ago, and it happened the year, so 4 years ago. And where we on? We're on 2025, so it'll have been kind of, well, I don't want to say tail end of COVID, but like the tail
Mhm.
end of the thick end of COVID, as it were. Um, and that was probably one of the toughest periods for the business, was moving the production. And it was the right thing to do massively, but it took a long time to get. It took over 6 months, and 6 months is a long time in a young business's life, particularly in this industry where everything does move incredibly quickly. Um, it took them time to get everything dialed in, where the new factory was able to run plastics, and it's a real niche
Mhm.
manufacturing process. There's not a lot of people out there with experience in doing it for models. Obviously, there's tons of injection molding going on out there in the world. My background is construction industry, and I worked for a company called Polypipe, and that's exactly what they did. They did injection and extrusion molding. So um, I have a little bit of familiarity in it, but it's so different because it was big pieces of pipe, and big bits of fittings. Whereas we're talking about, tiny little frames of soldiers where the flow of plastic is completely different and has to be so much more accurate. The pressure it's under has to be balanced so that you don't get like shrinkage within the mold and sinkholes. But at the same time, you don't want flash spilling out, and the more flash you have, the more mold lines you have. You want to kind of try and keep those mold lines down to a minimum. And it took a long time to get it dialed in the US. But we did, and as a result, we really reaped the benefits of that post factory move as we started to be able to ramp things up. We tried out a game found. We tried out some crowdfunding. That was my second major project after joining Wargames Atlantic, and it was incredibly successful in terms of the number of backers and the money that the backers pledged towards it. It was a hugely ambitious project, which when we got into it, we really did just take it on face value, which is, well, we know we could produce 11 plastic sets. And, we could produce 11 plastic sets pretty quickly. We could probably get through one a month. And it, we'd get there. But what we didn't think about, and naively, and this is really laying it bare, is we didn't consider that well, no, you can't. We can't just sit back and manufacture these 11 kits. We have to keep manufacturing product to put out into the world because if we don't, well, the lights would have gone off and we'd have had to close the factory because the way our business model works is we're all about producing kits and getting them onto shelves in stores and into people's hands quickly. Every month producing 2 to 3 plastic sets at the moment. Back then it was 1 to 2 sets a month, and without doing that, the business just would have had to fold, which would have been a crying shame because then not only would we have ceased to exist, we wouldn't have been able to fill the GameFound campaign. So we then had to balance the manufacturing of the campaign alongside general business running. And instead of it being delivered in the 12 months we'd ambitiously said, it's going to be delivered within just over 2 years. It's about 2.5 years. We're actually about to start fulfillment now in the US. Um, and manufacturing is beginning now in the UK, which kind of brings us up to another part of the story as things go on. So we'll park that. GameFound was great, really successful. The backers have been fantastic. The community feedback and engagement from the backers has been amazing. And yeah, it was really good fun. We've not been able to realize the benefit of that project yet. We really will see that as we then take those products to retail.
Mm.
But the great thing is there, the investment has been done. So it is just a matter of then producing the product, which still has a cost to it, but then getting it out into the world. And then as we started to bed into the US manufacturing, we were able to produce more stuff. The more stuff we produce, the more stuff we can produce. The more revenue we're generating from the product that exists. We've had quite an aggressive approach to trying to bring on more and more retailers around the world. The team grew. I brought a guy on who's Tom Chapman, who works in our sales team, who's become a really strong business development manager in growing our sales internationally from a B2B perspective. And we just carried on making the product the community wanted us to make. We have a Facebook group that is the Wargames Atlantic Legion. It has, I think, 12,000, 10,000 people in it now. I think it's 10,000 people in that Facebook group now. It's a really, really engaging community. People posting pictures of their models and their suggestions all the time. So we really use that as our first point of market research. The Legion are our most engaged supporters. If they're all saying they want something, then we'll listen, and we tend to try and go ahead and do it. We run polls in there every week where we ask them what they think about what we're planning, what we're thinking about, what we've done in the past, and they really are the lifeblood of of the business and the kind of R&D of the business. Um, and I think that's probably one of the most unique things about Wargames Atlantic is we have this real community focus even when we're Deathfield's Arena is born out of the fact that since we launched the Deathfields range and began to flesh out the story with these little paragraphs on the back of each box, we've had people asking, well, when is there going to be a Deathfields game? When is there going to be a Deathfields game? Um, and the Death Fields setting is actually it's not an arena setting. It's a mass battle setting where mass like battles are televised across galaxies of huge armies fighting each other to victory. And it was really difficult to try and think of how we turn that into a concept that people could get invested in because there's no politics, you know what I mean? There's no struggle between one faction and another. It's a sport. It's just about the battle. So we decided to go down the arena route where you can really kind of hone in on the characters, the guys on the table playing the game. And then what that allows us to do is take the concept and then expand it because the concept then exists and in a form that people can get their hands into, it's a lot easier for us then to kind of blow it up a bit and go, hey, here's the big version of that game.
So one thing about Wargames Atlantic that seems quite unique compared to people who are producing plastic or metal is that you have the plastic kits and you've got the digital range as well. Some people would think,
Yeah, so
how does that work and balance out, I suppose?
we it's interesting. So the digital things are very interesting, and it kind of fits the bill a little bit in the whole market research side of things as well. But Um, the truth of where it started was we have a fantastic team of sculptors which can sculpt like lightning, and we'd always be throwing, concept ideas to them, but not everything would make its way to plastic because we'd sit down and talk about it. We do the whole round table thing of like, well, do we think this is the right product to take out to mass market? Is it going to have the level of return that we need it to have? And those files, those digital sculpts, would just sit gathering digital dust on a drive somewhere, and it was kind of that the digital side of the business was born out of is kind of having all these STLs and um, wanting to do something with them, wanting to put them out into the world. But what was really fun about that concept is putting them out into the world in digital would then help us understand the popularity of it and then have a little look at things from another angle. So not just taking people's word for what they think that they say they want, and then actually looking at the digital side of things and and balancing those two bits of information together and going, okay, people are really interested in this, which that's kind of how the damned game found came around
Mm-hmm.
because we did this digital set that people had talked about, that it was really popular, and we were thinking about trying crowdfunding out, and it just made sense to do that particular product. And then it got really carried away with itself. It went from one product to 11 products. Um, but they are awesome kits, and when they do hit retail, I'm sure people will love them. But so that was the idea with the tribe, and it's predominantly historical focused. We do obviously the tribe, for anybody that doesn't understand, is my mini factory do like a subscription service where you pay, I think it's about $10 a month, and you receive, I think it's 19 sets we do. So a varying volume, but covering all of the periods that we cover in plastic, whether it's sci-fi, fantasy, Napoleonics, Bronze Age stuff, World War One, World War Two. There's a little bit of something for everybody in that tribe. It's got to be one of the best value tribes on my mini factory. And we're churning out stuff for it on a regular basis. But what we do with the digital stuff is it's all cross compatible with the plastic stuff. It's all sculpted to be multi-part kits, just like our plastic sets are. So the heads from the World War II um, digital sets will fit the bodies of the World War II sets that we make. Same with the fantasy stuff. Same with the other historical stuff and the sci-fi stuff. Um, so that's probably what makes us quite unique in a digital sense, because usually most digital products are, the one of the benefits of 3D printing is you can pretty much print anything. So
Mm-hmm.
designs tend to be really over the top, really what's the word I'm looking for? All the bells and whistles are thrown onto
Maybe
a
intricate.
digital sculpt. Yeah. And it's probably, I think, yeah, this is where, part of the personal preference of the decision makers and the business kind of bleeds through. I'm not a big fan of models covered with accessories because it's just more stuff I've got to paint. Um, so I like a more refined design. We have Rob McFarlane is one of our star sculptors, and Rob has that much more refined
Mm-hmm.
sculpting style where he won't just add bits for the sake of adding bits. He'll keep it real. Like all his models have a real kind of realism to them, because they're not adorned with, all the bells and whistles, etc. Um, so yeah, so that was the digital. Digital is basically our answer to, white metal, to resin, as those kind of products that we won't necessarily bring through to plastic. However, as the company grows and develops, that will probably change. Because our capacity for producing plastic is growing all the time. Um, we can tool, I think it's up to 4 molds at a time now. We can run in the UK, we can run up to 6 molds at a time. In the US, we can run 6 molds at a time. So our capacity is growing all the time. So those products that we wouldn't necessarily, in the past, wouldn't rush through to plastic become a lot more viable now. So smaller for we now have a small mold base which allows us to make that kind of half frame by itself. Whereas in the past when we did a half frame, it would be 2 frames on one mold base, and you had to run them both at the same time, which I'm sure comes with its own challenges, as you can imagine. So we're constantly exploring these different mold-based sizes and what we can do, um, with the idea of producing character models in the future. Obviously, we've done the sharp character model. We'd like to do things like William Marshall for the Barons War period. And as we do, when we cover more historical periods, we might continue to do things like that. And yes, going back, so it was only really in the last sort of 3 months we decided to, thanks to a certain politician in a certain part of the world, set up manufacturing in the UK so that we're able to produce on both sides of the pond. So anything bought within the US is manufactured in the US. Anything bought outside of the US will now be manufactured in the UK, and distributed out of the UK, which meant we needed to form a UK business. Um, Set up the factory, find people that we can work with, to do the manufacturing, and lessons learned from setting up the US factory have really helped in getting going in the UK. Although it's still taken about 3 months to dial everything in. But the plastics the UK factory is producing are absolutely fantastic. Um, so, I mean, personally, I'd say second to none. Um, the quality of the casting is absolutely insane. And that product is starting to feed through now. In the past we were shipping boxes or pallets worth of plastic from the US over to the UK to then distribute out around Europe, and the UK, and different parts of the world. Now we can do that all in the UK, which helps us to obviously manage our costs, but also helps with the customers that are seeing fluctuating tariffs,
Yep.
as a result of products manufactured in the US, and so on and so forth. So, um, yeah, like I say, we're a lean business, we're a small business. We've never really been supported by a great deal of outside capital. Everything we do is everything, all the sales that we make is reinvested in more product and back into the business. The owner still barely takes a wage. Um, which is um, is something I'm trying to rectify all the time. But as we grow, it's hard to not just try and push that money back into the business, and stimulate more growth. We have 90 plastic sets now, which started with 6 years ago. Um, and the intention is to just keep growing. But doing it the right way, by giving people what they want. Because otherwise it just gets harder, If we just sit around a table and decide to make what we want, we'd probably hardly sell any of it and
Yeah.
wouldn't grow very fast at all. So, we're always listening. That's the thing, is always kind of listening to what the community are talking about and going, okay, there's clearly an interest, there's a desire for this, and nobody's filling that gap right now. So let's be the ones to fill that gap. Like 10 mil fantasy. Nobody's filling that gap in plastic. And we produce the orcs, and they've been incredibly well received. We set up a Facebook group to house that classic fantasy battles range and the development of that community and that game. And it has over 2,000 people in it now, which is insane, considering there's one plastic box in the world. And we've got people asking all the time about what the rules going to look like. And we're frantically trying to make sure we can give them enough information for them to be able to, like get ready for it. It's awesome. I mean, like I can't feel any more blessed than I do. We're incredibly well supported by the community and by our customers and our fans, and it's awesome. And we talked about it before. Australia is a part of the world where um, we're probably not that well known yet, and it's something that we are trying as best as we can to kind of expand that. Hence the reason, supporting you guys and excuse me, it's it was lovely. One of those situations where you guys reached out to us, and it was very serendipitous in that I'm sitting here behind my desk going, how do we crack Australia? Because nobody really has done a great job as far as wargaming in Australia is concerned from like a mainstream manufacturer point of view. And it is really hard, it is really hard because
We're on the
of
opposite side of the world.
logistics, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so we're getting there. We've got some really good supporters. I can't speak more highly of Brett at Gap Games. Um, we've got a few more other stores coming online now. We supply them directly out of the UK. We try and make it as affordable as possible, with good margins, low shipping costs, free shipping over low thresholds. Um, to just try and make it as easy as possible. It means the margin that we make is lower, but it's about getting product, into people's hands and onto their gaming tables or their hobby desks, whatever it is they like to do with their toy soldiers. Or if you're just like me and you like collecting plastic, that's a
Yep.
hobby.
Then
Uh,
maybe
it
putting
is
it
because
together
I
and
say
making
it
it
is.
there. So you said right at the beginning, you'd contract manufactured, but if I understand now, there's a bit of an Australian connection and some contract manufacturing
There is. Yeah, there is. We're making horses at the
for
moment.
for the sculptor who's made our show figure and will be at the show. So
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, no, I mean, it's the contract casting's a really funny one because we're quite open about doing it for people. And but we do like to be quite selective with those that we choose to do it with. They have to be the right fit. They have to be the right kind of person, and they ultimately have to be easy to work with because it's a real hard process because most people that we do the contract casting with have no experience in plastics. Whether it be from a sculpting perspective or a manufacturing perspective. So it's quite a steep learning curve to go from the kind of soft mold or even 3D printing side of things now into hard molds, with two steel
yeah,
blocks that sandwich together, and there's no forgiveness in it at all. So the drafting and the undercuts and all that kind of stuff did need to be considered. And Hudson's really great at taking people on and working with them and trying to help teach them how to sculpt. We call it sculpting for plastic. It's a weird
yeah,
turn of phrase, but how to sculpt for plastic. And what that does is ultimately gives them a skill set that, they're not beholden to us. We don't actually charge them to help them. Obviously, we charge for doing the manufacturing side of things and the engineering side of things. But the toing and froing over, right, this is what you need to look at, and this is what's wrong with the sculpt at the moment. This is what needs to be changed, and this is the reason for it, and so on and so forth, is something we just do as part of the process, part of the service. So, it just means those guys and maybe girls in the future can go away and they have a new skill set that they can offer into the marketplace, into the industry. Um, because it is rare. It is really rare to find people that know how to sculpt for plastic. Um, and we have a bunch of them already work for us full time.
Yeah.
Um, Sometimes we outsource the sculpting, but that we found that is actually more arduous than anything else, because of revisions and so on and so forth. So we try and tend to avoid that. And also then it just means our sculptors are stuck doing something for somebody else when we need them doing stuff for us. Um, but yeah, no, so it's really cool. It is really cool. And I think we've got more plans to do more stuff. But yeah, it's really exciting, really, really exciting.
So for the people who are watching this and turn up at Victorious, we've got a wide selection of sets that have come in from the UK and have got printed or made on both sides of the pond on them, so they're hot out of the press. We'll
Excellent.
be giving some away as prizes, some giveaways, or some will be raffled off, so there'll be the opportunity for you to have a look at them and maybe grab hold of them and see what Wargames Atlantic's like. And either if you want to see what's coming up on the schedule, your website's got pretty much everything you're looking to produce over the next 6 months up there.
It does, yeah. We're pretty open with most things. We do tend to keep a few secrets every now and then, but we're pretty much open with the manufacturing process. Uh, we try to be as transparent as possible, so that people understand. And obviously, from a selfish perspective, from a business perspective, it helps us out a lot because we don't then have loads of people asking what's happening and stuff because the information's out there. You don't need to come and bug us and hound us. We just get hounded for things like female American Civil War zombie cavalry and things like that.
And they go on digital.
Or I think there might be be- because it's just got to that level now where it's like, yeah, let's just do it on digital just to get it out there, and then they can't say anything ever again. But they will because they'll want it in plastic. It's become a running joke that though, and I think a few people have picked up on it now, so it tends to get thrown out quite a lot. How far away is the show? So we're on the.
Saturday.
It's
So
this Saturday.
two sleep.
Goodness, two
Well,
sleeps.
hopefully we're getting it out with one sleep to go. It depends on how long the Zoom takes to process it. But as soon as we've got it, we'll be chopping and tailing it, and in its entirety in raw form will be going up on our
And
social media.
and where's this? Is this going on YouTube?
Um, we'll put it on YouTube, but the idea is to get it out onto Facebook and then a link out of Instagram or something because it's too long for them. But
I'm gonna blindside you, Lorne. Why don't we do a little competition
okay,
for socials? So people that are watching it on whatever platform they're watching it, if they comment, or what do you want them to do? Do you want what? I guess the easiest thing to do is
your
track
show. You
comments,
tell
right?
me.
Yeah, okay. Then comments, stick comments in the comments of whatever platform it's on, um, and tell us one thing you like about historical wargaming. Let's go with that because what I'd like to give away is a copy of the Barons War 2 starter set. So we'll ship it out to whoever wins. I'm going to say you have to be in Australia. This is only for Australian hobbyists. And yeah, Lorne can let me know. Should we pick a winner at random? We'll just stick them
Got
all
to
in
be
a
random. I think is the way to go.
yeah, randomized winner. And then if you let me know, we'll send that box out So whoever wins, whether they've already got Baron's War or they're looking to get into it, even if you've got Baron's War already, it's a box full of more soldiers
and
and some
terrain.
cool scenery and stuff as well. So yeah, that'd be cool. I'd like to do that.
Charlie,
There we
a
go. We've done
fantastic
it.
idea
It's on.
and
It's
very
recorded.
generous. So,
That's pleasure.
well, on
Pleasure.
that note, we'll say good night from here and good morning from where you are, and
Cheers.
we'll let you know how Saturday goes.
I look forward to seeing all the coverage, all the photos, and all the feedback afterwards.
Been a pleasure having you on board.
Cheers, Lon. Thank you.
Yeah, bye. Right, now we can stop the recording. Leith can do that, and
Fab.
yeah, look, thank you very much for joining us. Sorry it took so long to organise.
It's all right. I hope I didn't talk too much. Like I say, I have a terrible habit of doing that. I am a salesman at heart.
That's okay. Hopefully I didn't interrupt too much, but no, it was really
You
informative.
probably should have interrupted more.
Leith gets on sometimes. He says, "Lorne, shut up." So I'm very good at shutting up now.
Yeah, he shouldn't have been doing that with me. He's probably too busy doing whatever he needs to do.
So Leith does exhibitions. So whether it would be major cosmetic launches or stuff, or the TikTok Awards, or the Sydney Marathon, or
Cool.
Metallica concerts.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah, but if he's listening, I say Leith is very much overworked and underappreciated, I would say.
Yes.
Not
Yeah,
by
yeah.
us, because we don't overwork him and underappreciate him.
Good. Good.
Well, but look,
Smashing.
thank you very much. We'd love to keep in contact. And
Yeah, please
yeah,
do. I mean, you've got me on Facebook and stuff. It's as good a place as any to reach me, actually, because I get bombarded on email and stuff. So yeah, if I tend to, Facebook is a good place to catch me because I'm not very active, but I am on it all the time because I use it for market research
yeah,
ultimately. Because everything that we do in our hobby lives on Facebook these days, largely. Instagram's obviously starting to pick up quite a lot, but yeah, that's my Facebook feed is just full of hobby stuff.
yeah.
So yeah, if you want to chat, if you want to catch me, you want to ask me anything, or you want to get together and do something like this again, I'm always happy to, mate. Always happy.
And I'll say hi to Andrew when I see him.
Smashing. Yes, I'll. In fact, he was due here in about half an hour. He's coming to pick me up
Andy,
because.
so there's two Andys. There's your Andy,
Oh, yes.
and then
I
there's
meant.
yeah, Andrew Medbury. So,
Oh, sorry. Yes, yeah, yeah. Memory miniatures. Sorry. I to be honest, I only know him as memory miniatures. It's so bad. Hudson's done all the work with Andrew directly.
yeah.
But yeah, but no, Andy's here. But I know Andy's a big fan of yours.
Well, we'd have to say
Oh,
likewise.
Andy.
We love the games, and we very much liked Footsore and all the other stuff. So
Yeah, he's good, Andy. I'm absolutely blessed that he came on board. It took about 6 months of courting Andy to kind of get him to come over. But since coming over, he's really kind of committed hard, and hopefully he'll be here until he retires. Um, I think he buys the vision of what we're trying to build, and wants to be involved in building something again. So
well,
yeah,
having
such words.
done Games Workshop and Warlord Games and the other stuff, you've got a wealth of
And
experience.
then futsal, yeah, it's exciting times. It's really exciting times.
Well,
We can still make mistakes,
well,
but
if we can continue to grow Victorious and build up, then hopefully that might be a reason for you to come out with Andy, because I'm sure Andy would
that
like to come and do some Aikido down here again.
yeah, I'm
But
sure he
after
would.
that,
Yeah, definitely.
you know about his Melbourne connection?
No, I don't. I mean, I know about his Aikido, but I didn't know about his Melbourne connection. No.
Well, there you go. If you find our very small YouTube one, which yeah, not many people listen to, but we interviewed him, then you'll find you can ask him about
I'll ask him
life
when he
in
gets
Melbourne.
here. Yeah,
Yeah, very good. Well, Charlie,
excellent,
thank you
cool.
very much. Appreciate your time. I'm going to go and have my late
No,
dinner.
my
Okay.
pleasure, Lon. Cheers.
Yeah.
Take care,
Bye.
mate.
Bye.
Bye bye.